Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Wrapping things up here on this Wednesday. Before we get to Georgia, Oregon, let's get to a shovel of wisdom.
Brace yourselves, because it's time for the shovel of wisdom.
Yeah, you know how we do every day. We got to whack somebody upside the head, set them straight for saying or doing something stupid. We'll do so right here on A to Z. You can do so on my Twitter account at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno, and use the hashtag shovel of wisdom. And today my shovel goes to Adrian Johnson. Well, you might not know who Adrian Johnson is because you really don't want to know who Adrian Johnson is. He's an umpire. And you never want to know umpires' names. Names like, Angel Hernandez, because he's terrible. Well, last night in the Giants-Padres game, there was a call at first place on a double play ball that was missed and needed to be reviewed. And so I'm actually going to play for you the 30 seconds of audio because there is a lot to unpack here. The aforementioned Angel Hernandez even gets a shout out because after the ump at first base, it's a double play ball. Brandon Drury hits a ground ball to short. They try to turn the double play. Drury beats it out. And so instead of an inning-ending double play, the inning goes on, but yet they had to go and review it. And as they're going to review it, umpire Adrian Hernandez forgets that his mic is on and says a dirty word. Take a listen. Plus, you'll hear the fan yell as Angel Hernandez on the field, taking his name in vain as well. Okay, so that's Johnson turning on the mic. And now they're doing the review. And he clearly beats it. And here comes Adrian Johnson again. Yeah, there you go. Nothing like a hot mic, little expletive there. Good job, Adrian Johnson. We're proud of you. We love you. Keep up the good work. It's happened to the best of us. Not me. One time, I accidentally slipped and said a bad word on air. One time in nearly, going on 2 decades now of being in this business, of me letting one slip on air on live mic. Yeah. So other than that, for whatever reason, never happens. Of course, you get a hot mic, that's a problem. That's happened to me before too. I was talking to somebody else, and the producer forgot to turn my mic off and say a dirty word, and you get in trouble for that. There's in reality, we say this all the time to people in this business. You're responsible for what comes out of your mouth in front of a microphone. So if you don't know that and you've been in this business a long time, well, you should know it. Speaking of being in business for a long time, that's what Kirby Smart has done against Dan Lanning in Oregon. Kirby Smart trying to defend his national championship and put Georgia back in the college football playoff again. In reality, I think out of all of the week one big marquee games, Georgia may have the toughest and most legitimate opponent. Not only by rank standards, but because, Ohio State's going to play Notre Dame, but they're going to smoke Notre Dame. Just write that down, folks. They're absolutely going to smoke them. But beyond that, I think Oregon is probably the team that is likely to be in the top 10 all season long, more so than anybody else. I know Florida and Utah are getting together, but I don't think Florida's going to be very good. I look at some of the other marquee matchups. I think this is the toughest one of week one for any team. It just is. And how does Kirby Smart approach these matchups? Well, and you could argue, by the way, that things are now different because of winning a national title. But, Kirby tends to generally stay very, very conservative early on in games and early on in the season. It's not a guy that takes a lot of huge shots, right? And go back to last year in the opener against Clemson. Now, Clemson turned out actually had a much better defense than Oregon will this year. I think Oregon's defense will be okay. I think it'll be good. They'll be Pac-12 good. I don't know if they're going to be great. Clemson's defense last year, for all the problems that they had, was great. But in that game, in the opener, they only passed for 135 yards. Now, granted, that was JT Daniels doing it. But 22 of 30 for 135 yards, only averaging 4.5 yards a pass. Now, is that a sign of play calling? Maybe. But they also had 31 rushing attempts for 121 yards. I mean, the balance is great there, and it should be. And you're playing against a tough defense, and it was a low-scoring game overall. But I think it just speaks to the fact that early on in games, when you watch, if you look at the run-pass split, Kirby tends to skew heavily run. That's okay. I don't think it's a bad thing, but that's why I just kind of feel like this game will be probably a little bit closer than most people think. Georgia's favored by 18 and a half, whatever it may be. And I genuinely do like Oregon. I like Oregon to cover the number because it's one of those deals where Kirby Smart just repeatedly in the beginning of years will play conservative. He'll give his offense time to open up as it goes along. And I think that's really telling of, Kirby's style and what he wants to do. Again, you can go back to the 2020 schedule. Granted, it was a COVID year. But, that's a game where against Arkansas, they ended up throwing 47 passes. I mean, they won 37-10, but they also rushed the ball 42 times. Like, Kirby is never going to get that much out of balance, especially against tough opponents. God, Felipe Frank's quarterback that game. Now he's in Atlanta. Weird. And you just go back and you look at how he handles things. It's never going to be out of whack. And I think that's what's going to keep this game closer. I certainly think Georgia ends up winning this thing. And I think they win it fairly handily. I don't think when I say fairly handily, I don't think they'll sweat. I don't think they'll ever be in danger of losing a lead. They'll keep a one-score lead the entire game, or a plus more than one score, an 8, 10-point lead. But I don't expect them to be up by 30 at any point in time. If they do, it's because somehow Oregon got, they scored 4 touchdowns in the first half and they're down 28-3. Like, that's how this game gets out of hand for Oregon. But I don't think Dan Lanning lets it get out of hand. And as I've said repeatedly, I don't think that that Kirby is going to run it up against his former assistant. They get a 28-3 lead, something like that. He'll come out in the second half, run, that's it. Run, that's it. And if the run is working, he's going to stay with it. If you can't stop the run, that's a you problem. You don't have to pass in those spots. So, I expect it to be a slower, lower scoring game, but I certainly expect Georgia to win. I just like Oregon to cover. All right, that'll do it for us here on this Wednesday edition of A to Z. Check out all the great shows on the Locked On Sports Network. This is A to Z. Of course, check out Hitting Hard with John Chuckery as your second listen every single day right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Back tomorrow for a Thursday show. You guys have a great day. Don't take any crap from anybody. See ya.